Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host, Simon Conboy. This is one of my Cover Who series episodes, covering former Baltimore Ravens and New York Jets linebacker Bart Scott. Now, if you've not watched this series before, this is essentially a tribute to players that are never going to make the Hall of Fame and that I feel were very good players who've been somewhat forgotten about since their careers ended, and I think Bart Scott fits that profile perfectly for a number of reasons. One of them being career numbers. His career numbers, not enormously impressive. 527 solo tackles, 732 total, which is a pretty low total considering he played 11 years in the league. Only made the one Pro Bowl in 2006. Was a second team All-Pro that year. Only 25 sacks. Wasn't a huge stats guy, but was integral to Rex Ryan's defenses, which were, over that time span, constantly very good. And he had a fairly unique role, and it's not one that shows up in the stat sheet, but it made him very entertaining to watch, and it definitely allowed his inside linebacker teammate, whether it was Ray Lewis or David Harris, to do what they did best, and that was cover ground and make tackles. He helped. I've got no doubt those two players will say he was one of the best teammates they ever had. Certainly helped them with their numbers. What his role was, and I essentially called him like the anti-fullback or anti-lead blocker. So where most linebackers traditionally are going to be reading a run play, trying to read what gap it's going through, either cover their own gap or make a play and shoot a gap or chase a running back down. His role was kind of the opposite of that. It was to read the gap and then explode into the lead blocker so that they couldn't do their job and allow the other linebacker to make the tackle. And he was great at it. He was just a wrecking ball. Having a linebacker just running face first into guards constantly is not something most linebackers would be happy to do, but that was his job and he was exceptional at it. If you just look at some of the tackle statistics that Ray Lewis, David Harris never looked better than he did when he had Bart Scott alongside him. I don't think he's a particularly great player, but he can run and he can tackle, and if you've got a guy like that, Bart Scott is his best friend. Also, one of the best hits I've ever seen was I don't know if any of you guys will necessarily remember this, but search out on YouTube. I'm sure it's easy to find. There was a hit he put on Ben Roethlisberger. He was unblocked, clean off the left side of the defense, right side of the offensive line, and he levels Roethlisberger from his blind side. Doesn't see it. It's a perfectly clean hit, absolutely vicious, fantastic hit there. And that was, this guy was an impact player, and by impact I don't mean he necessarily made big plays. Impact was the definition of his game, running into guys. It's an incredibly unselfish role for a guy to play in a defense, because as I say, you're not going to get those Pro Bowl nods that you may warrant, because he was a great player for a number of years. Obviously Ray Lewis is going to overshadow you somewhat, because it's Ray Lewis at the end of the day, but he was essential, and the fact that Rex took him to New York, I think, is a testament to the fact that Rex knew this guy was a big cog in his defensive scheme, and he really was. They've never, not really replaced him. I don't know if you can, because as I say, he did such a unique job and he did it so effectively for a number of years. And bear in mind, this guy was undrafted as well when the Ravens picked him up in 2002. I'm not sure if you can necessarily predict that someone's going to be able to spend their career doing what he did, but he was just a very good player. I definitely recommend going back and watching some of his tape, especially if it's from that 2006 season, which is where his career higher tackles came that year with 76, which I think says it all. That is, for a guy starting every game, that is not a large number of tackles. There are some guys that will put that up in half a season. So it really does shine a light on exactly what this guy did. To make a Pro Bowl and a second team All-Pro while only having that many tackles in a season, it is a testament to the respect that he had from his peers around the league. I don't really place too much stock in Pro Bowls, but all pro teams absolutely do mean something. You don't just waltz onto one of those teams because you play for someone that's well known. Some players maybe should make it that don't each year, but those that do, generally they deserve it. And yeah, this was a great player. I mean, any of those, if you want to go check Bart Scott out, just go watch like Steelers Ravens games from late last decade, because they were great. They were some of my favourites. Some real physical, hard hitting games, and they're the kind of games that suited Bart Scott in particular. I'm sure a lot of fullbacks probably remember him pretty well, because they probably did not deal with too much like him. But yeah, this guy, he's been somewhat forgotten, I think, since he left the league. As I said before, not a guy that's ever going to make the Hall of Fame or a Ring of Honor or any of that kind of stuff. But people should remember him. He was very good, very unique, interesting player, and I think he was a key cog in those Rex Ryan defences for the 11 years he was in the league. And they were some very good defences. So that's really a testament to this man's ability on the field. As I say, go watch it in his prime with the Ravens or those first couple of years with the Jets. He was great. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And there we go. That's my cover who. Bart Scott. Hopefully this will help you be remembered more than I feel you currently are. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. If you've got any suggestions for who you'd like to see me cover in this series, I've already got a list of names. It's going to be a fortnightly series. I've got plenty that I've got in mind, but if there's anyone you'd like to see done, if there's someone heavily requested, I'll bump them up the list if they're going to be done. I'll let you know if I'm not going to cover them, because I'm expecting, if people are going to make requests, there'll be some that I just don't think deserve to be in this series, whether it's because they're too well known or I personally didn't think they were good enough. But I'll let you know if I'm not going to do them, and I'll let you know why. But let me know whether it's Facebook comments below, Cover Zero Facebook, the comment section below, or find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. I'll be more than happy to discuss some of these players. I'm really hoping this series helps shed some light on some of these guys. And if you're younger and you weren't around when these players were playing, if you've got Game Pass, go check them out. You'll enjoy it, and hopefully you'll learn a bit about football in the process. So there we go. Bart Scott, great player. Loved him. Thanks for watching. Check out more of my videos if you do. I've done one other cover who. That was on Jamal Williams, the former nose tackle for the Chargers. Similar era, just as good a player. Man, he was great. I enjoyed that episode. So check that one out. Check out some more of the series. I'm doing draft previews at the moment. Pleasure as always. Thanks for your time, and go Bucks.